We are turning an RV park into a tiny home hotel. If you didn't catch the last video, we are basically in part 2 of our demo series. We've had to take the 7 existing units that were there, level them, demo them, get them out of there, and try to get the lot completely bare before winter sets in. If you didn't catch that video, you can catch it right here. It'll be up here in this corner. But we were here at day 7, and we had decided to take out some dead trees and just thin out some of the landscape that had trees that are abundantly cottonwood, which is not something that we're used to in Oregon. And we were taking some of those down with the excavator. You should use a chainsaw, you should cut notches into the tree, and then when you use the excavator, it should push and go the direction that you want it to go. Even doing all that doesn't always happen, but the truth is, we got a little lazy, we were tired, and we were not notching them with a chainsaw. I think we had taken down 7 or 8 trees at that point, so it did feel like, you know, we had a pretty good handle on it. And we were working on the last cottonwood tree that was by the only last existing power line that the power line company had not taken down, and that's a whole nother story. When I looked and I saw Chris working on that tree, it seemed under control, and it's just, I mean, that's why they preach safety, that's why there's accidents, and that's why there's incidents all the time, is that you can be flawless for 7 days in a row, and then on that 8th day, one small mistake can be the difference in a matter of sometimes even life and death. So as Chris had put the excavator on that tree, it was bending, going the right direction, but it snapped in half about maybe 10 feet up the tree, and when it broke sideways and ended up taking out the power line and the side of the house. You will see the tree breaking, and then you'll see the power line that was supposed to have been disconnected by Idaho Power and Electric, you'll see it arc, and then you'll see it crash through the roof of the commercial building. So all of this happened in a split second. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Oh shit, oh shit. Watch out, Johnny, Johnny! In that moment when it happened, I obviously was pretty freaked out, but in the same token, I was like, okay, obviously it could have been worse. It didn't look like it did much damage to the building. Chris jumped out of the excavator, and I knew he was obviously disturbed that the tree had fallen the wrong way and that had happened, but I didn't realize that the live power line had actually fallen onto the excavator. So the live power line was actually laying on the excavator between the boom, which is where the arm works in and out, and the cab. So you had the cab and the boom, and that live power line was laying right on top of the metal excavator. So,
Gotta call the power company.
Why?
The hot wire down. And as soon as that's out, I'll patch the roof.
We had another hot wire?
Yeah, the wiring's coming. I was stuck under it, that's why I had to take the angle I did. I had to go that way.
Oh, how'd you take it down?
I pushed it this way and it snapped and it came back.
Oh shit. How do you know it's hot? You saw an arc?
That's spark.
Fuck.
It's probably dead now, but I don't know. Sorry, Jeff.
Okay, so are we able to get it pulled off the roof or what? Can we get it?
As soon as that power line's taken care of, I'll fix the problem within an hour.
Okay, well, I don't know how quick I can get them out here.
If you're calling about a power outage, downed wire, street light, or for any other power problem,
and at that point, we're sitting there at, I don't know, 7:30 waiting for Idaho Power, and a hole in the roof, and rain starting, and it was just a wet, sloppy day, and, you know, we were just cooked. Yeah. There you go.
Keep on coming. You got it. That thing's hard to do, though.
No, for sure.
Even when you're picking up shit, you don't know which one to push. Like that.
I know. There you go. We got the bucket.
I think it's full, isn't it?
Are you able to close the bucket a little bit more?
Close that bucket tight.
Just so it's locked in? We already got a hole in the roof. Stay clear.
Here, I'm going to take this kitchen and put it on that side and try and go through it.
Okay, he's got it crunched. There you go, there you go, there you go. You got it free. Okay, it's free. Almost free. Oh wow, look at that. Okay, watch your head. That branch is tall. There you go. We obviously had to repair the roof. We had to make sure that we mitigated that from leaking. So around 8:30, 9 o'clock, we all pitched in and realized we had to find some workaround, something to figure out, you know, how to get that hole fixed.
What I'm gonna do is, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm gonna slide a board inside of there, come up from behind it, screw the middle back down to it, and then I'll give something in the back to be a base. So we put the new piece on, we can have something solid to screw into.
We found some leftover tin, we cut it up. Johnny cut some wood to make a frame. We used 2x4s as steps, and it was just a super scary operation at, you know, 9 o'clock at night with absolutely no light. And as you can see here, Chris hops up on the roof. You know, Johnny supporting him with a ladder that had already had broken rungs. And I mean, it was just a super haphazard operation. But, you know, we're in these situations probably sometimes more than we'd like to be for sure. So improvising is always part of it. Adjusting, adapting, that is part of, you know, what you take on when you take on these type of projects.
This is the shoddiest roof job I've ever been a part of. My name is Johnny.
Spent a good hour and a half, 2 hours on that roof, and we got it patched up. We put a tarp over it, nailed it down with 2x4s just to give it a temporary support, and called it a day. So after having that, you know, certainly sketchy situation, certainly could have been, you know, way worse than it was. We were able to call it a night that night, and then we were done. So day 8 was Chris had finished. He had done his work and he was out of there. He flew out, went back to Oregon. I had Johnny with me for another 4 or 5 days. Johnny and I just continued to, it was like Groundhog Day. We'd wake up in the morning, we'd push stuff around, we'd get it in a pile, we'd have as much of the ground, you know, kind of all in piles. We'd wait for the dumpster to show up at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and he'd come. We'd hope we weren't overweight. Some days we were, some days we weren't. And it did get so bad that even the Republic dispatcher called and said at a certain point, said, guys, you guys can't keep running overweight like this. You're holding up my driver by a half hour to an hour. They're on a strict deadline of where they got to go and where they got to be. And if you guys can't get this thing figured out, then we're not going to bring you dumpsters anymore, which is super challenging because there's no scales on them, there's no weight, there's nothing on them to let you know what these weigh. So it's literally just a guessing game as you're going. But we worked through it. Johnny did his thing. And as you can see, we just kept grinding and going through the process of what it takes to, you know, turn something back into bare land. And it was tough. Johnny ended up flying back to Oregon, and it was just me. And I was committed to obviously knowing we had to do the dumpster day while we started making plans for, you know, what the whole rest of the park was going to look like. So knowing we still have to get things figured out for landscaping, for fencing. And as I started to evaluate and look and figure out where our water lines were and our sewer lines were, I actually started making some calls and talking to a couple of local people, where I ran into a guy named Tom who actually knew the property and knew it well because he owned a huge lot next door.
Question is, do I start over with sewer and water and don't?
Water 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, water 100%.
Okay.
That is a 100% do-over.
Okay.
We've had some unforeseen things. We knew they were going to come up, but some of the unforeseen things is when we called Idaho Power and Electric to take down the low-hanging power lines. They told me they were not going to put them back up. They were against code, and that we would have to work out a new design and a new plan and trench them under the ground to a sub box and lay them out directly where our new tiny homes are going to be. Wasn't something that was figured into the budget. I mean, obviously unforeseen circumstances are figured into the budget, but this was one of those things that we did not think was going to happen. So potentially now we're looking at having to do new power lines, new water lines, and possibly new septic lines. So if you were to add up what the cost of all that's going to be, yeah, it's frightening. For Lynn and I, this is a huge investment. We're not a development company. We're just we're just Tim and Lynn. We're just two people that really enjoy creating cool spaces, and having had the experience of renovating properties in Oregon and having done that for the last 3 years, this was an exciting project that we knew would be risky. We knew would take, a lot of courage, so to speak, and just give us, a challenge that, we didn't actually, still don't at all know we can actually, handle. But what we have handled is we've got the properties down, we've got permits approved. We'll get into a separate video about how that works and getting permits done. And Lynn is almost done working on her designs and her renders for how the tiny houses will look from the interior perspective, and what she plans to do with the main house common area that will be basically serve as almost like a hotel lobby, but more of like a hangout area for the guests that are staying in the tiny home. So we're gonna leave here, we'll be gone for a few weeks. We'll kind of go back to the drawing board, finish up our designs and drawings, start working on our plans on what we're gonna do for our electrical, our sewer and plumbing and water. Look forward to seeing you join us, where we will start talking about the renders and the designs and everything that Lynn's got cooked up for us. And we will see you on the next one.